Welcome, everybody, to this evening's Golden Speakers Toastmasters meeting. I'm your president, Aaron Russell, welcoming you to tonight's meeting. Tonight we have an all table topics meeting hosted by myself and Bob Fogel. And so we'll be looking forward to that. And with that, I think we can just move right along to our meeting proper, hosted by our Toastmaster, who for tonight is Rick Starr. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. I'd like to start off our meeting by introducing our role players. And the first role player is our timer, Carmen.
Lápiz. Are you waiting for me?
Yeah, could you explain the role
I'm
of
sorry,
the timer, please?
I was on the other room. I'm sorry. Oh, you're waiting for a timer. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Okay. So for table topics, I just going to time. It is from 1 to 2 minutes. 1 minute is we are going to have a green light. 1 minute and a half yellow and 2 minutes red. And we will have in 30 seconds for before you can stop. For the evaluation is from 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes green light, 2.5 yellow, 3 minutes red, and 30 seconds extra. I will give my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Carmen.
Evaluators? Did she give evaluators?
She did.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'd like our grammarian, Art Atkinson. Please explain the role.
Good evening, Toastmasters. In my role as a grammarian, I have two jobs. One is to listen for the quality of English that's being used and to note any particularly elegant phrases, or should there be any awkward English that needs grammatical correction. The other part of my job is to present the word of the evening and track its usage. And in the chat, I have put tonight's word, which is plethora, meaning an abundance of something to the point of excess. The sentence to use it, illustration that the recreation room displayed a plethora of memorabilia. So I'll be noting, it's not in your chat. Interesting. It says I sent it to everyone.
I think Jean signed in after you put it in the chat.
Hopefully
Well,
she can remember plethora.
I definitely can. It's interesting though. If you join the meeting after something's in chat, you don't get, it's not like back dated or something.
I don't see it either, so I guess I missed it too. But I can remember plethora.
Yeah.
So my other job,
spelling on that, if you could send.
here, I will give a report as grammarian at the end of the meeting, noting both my tracking of the use of plethora and my tracking of the other elegant phrases of English, which I expect to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. Now I'd like to ask Art to please explain the role of odd counter.
As an odd counter, I will be listening for what are termed filler words, words that are used as a crutch to fill what otherwise would be small silences between ideas. Examples are you know, so, but, and used to string together sentences inappropriately, and other similar words and sounds and phrases. I will track these and give a brief report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Odd Counter. Our general evaluator is Jan Craig, and our joke master is Carmen, and we shall hear from them later on in the meeting. Jean, how do you want to handle the evaluation of the table topics?
Why don't we alternate back and forth since we don't know exactly where we're going to be at the
Okay.
end? So we would have, I'm sorry, let me back up on that. The one table topics master goes first, and let's just 15 minutes or so. And then the other table topics master goes, but as evaluators, we can just back and forth take
Okay.
turns. So odds or evens, depending on which you prefer. What would you like?
Why don't you go first, third, fifth, and I'll go second, fourth, and
Okay.
sixth.
Okay.
Very good. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our first table topics master of the night, Aaron Russell.
Thank you. Not to throw a wrench or anything into the well-laid plan that Jean and Rick came up with, but Bob, do you want to flip back and forth as well? I think it'd be a little more lively if we kind of go back and forth.
Sure, and that would be wonderful.
All right. Sounds good to me.
So then, Jean, you'll evaluate all of Aaron's speeches, and I'll evaluate Bob's speeches. How's that?
Yes, and that sounds good. And I just was going to mention, that's a great actually idea, because we used to do it the way I said it because it was too much back and forth, people moving up and to the front and back. If you had table. But since we're all
Yeah.
in our little Zoom spot, you can do that.
All right.
By the way, may I just ask real quick, Dan and I spent a little bit of time on my microphone this afternoon. Is it okay for people?
Very clear.
Sounds good.
Good.
Okay. Dan's the best.
All right, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Our theme for tonight's meeting is getting organized. So that's what our table topic session will be about. And I have my first question, if I have any victims who would like to start. Rick, right off the bat. All right. Thank you for that. Rick, what's something that you've been procrastinating on for quite some time that you would like to get done if you have the time? And why do you think you haven't had the opportunity to get it done?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. It's appropriate that I answer this question because I am the world's worst or best procrastinator. Other people procrastinate from time to time. Other people are semi-procrastinators, but no one can hold a candle to me. If there were awards for procrastination, every year I would win it. Not only would I win it, I'd retire the trophy. And after I retired it, they wouldn't think of giving it to anyone else because no one could achieve my level of procrastination. Let me give you an example. I could give you many examples because everything in my life I procrastinate on. So one example is straightening this office. And I gave this as an example because if you look in back of me, you can see a shelf full of books, which are, they look semi-neat, they look semi-organized, but they're not. I just arranged the top two shelves so I wouldn't be completely humiliated on the meetings. The bottom two shelves are horrible, and the first two shelves, it's just a facade. They're not really organized. So that gives a very graphic example of my procrastination.
Aaron, that was wonderful, Rick. Do I just take over and ask the second question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be asked a question twice. Is that kind of what's the plan?
We're just going to roll with it, Bob, and see where we end up.
Okay. All right. Well, Jean, since you spoke up first, I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
Ask her twice. Okay.
What? Start again? What was that?
That you might have to answer twice because I'm going to start with you first. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pitch it. Go ahead. Send me the pitch.
Albert Einstein was arguably the wisest man who lived. When he died, a photo was snapped of his office, in which it looks like a disaster and very unorganized. How do you think he kept his thoughts organized to share all of his theories?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. I would not deign to try to interpret how Mr. Einstein thinks or arrives at his conclusions. He was so brilliant. I'm sure he could have been standing on his head on top of a mountain, no materials whatsoever, and still coming up with some amazing conclusions. But I'm going to say for myself that from a very recent experience, actually, that cleaning things up, getting rid of clutter, straightening things really does affect the mental functioning. If I'm going to be coming up with anything approaching what Albert Einstein came up with, it's going to have to be from a neat office. My example is that we went for just about 4 months with no cleaning. We usually had outside cleaners coming, and we have a lot of stuff, and it just became too much to keep up with it. And we tried, but we just were not really keeping up. And so my brain actually was getting bogged down and oppressed in my feeling. We had someone come in a couple of weeks ago, lots of precautions and safety and masks. And I felt like after they were gone, it was just, I felt this incredible burst of productivity and energy and organizing power. And I've been through it, and Dan is just looking at me almost amazed. Is this the same person that he married? Because I've been putting finishes on wood cabinets, and I've been cleaning up stuff that's been on piles for months. So for me, and I can't speak for Mr. Einstein, but I would say to him, if you were going to work with me, My requirement would be that I have to have a neater environment in order for the productivity and the creativity to just flow out.
Thank you, Jean. Excellent.
Yes, very good, Jean.
Who would like to go next? Dan. All right. Dan, what stresses you out more? Having a schedule that's so rigid that there's no room for flexibility, or just not having a planned schedule at all? But
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, that's an interesting question. Which would be harder to deal with? A rigid schedule that I have to stick to, or no schedule at all? And for my personality, I think it's fairly clear that I would consider the rigid schedule the lesser of the two evils. A rigid schedule doesn't sound like any fun, but I am a person that likes to structure things. If I'm at work, I've always got to-do lists going. On some days, I totally ignore them, but the lists are there. If I'm in a situation in any walk of life, whether it's personal or work or whatever, where there's no clear goal, there's no steps that have to be taken, I sort of feel adrift. It's just like there's too many choices, so I can't find a comfort level. The world is full of a plethora of options at any given time. And I'm happier if I make the subset of today's possibilities a little smaller so that I can choose those. And that way I feel like I'm accomplishing something. If I think I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I do 2 or 3 of those things, I can say, hey, I got something done today. If I don't have any list, it's a little hard to make that comment. So for me, I'm happier with the rigid schedule. Thanks.
Bob, I think you're muted. Bob, I think you're muted.
There he goes.
Yeah, I'm muted. I apologize. I dropped my mouse and I can't find the screen. I can hear you folks, but I can't see nothing.
Well, all we need is your dulcet tone.
Okay. I'll say, everyone. Oh, hey, there Dan showed up. All right, there, everybody. All right. Thanks for letting me back in today. Okay. Who would like to go next? Art, did you tell me you wanted to go next, or did Carmen?
Me.
Carmen.
You got 2 yeses.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll ask the question. Was that Carmen said yes? Then is that what it is?
I heard Carmen.
Carmen said yes, and Art raised his hand, and I would say those are 2 different, completely legitimate channels. But I think Carmen actually beat Art by a hair.
Mm.
So we got to watch for hands raised as well as vocal.
Okay.
Glad
gonna-
we settled that.
So we're going to go with you, Carmen.
I can time for
Okay,
Carmen.
I can time myself.
All right.
All right.
Okay, all right.
All right. Here's a question. Have you ever made a snap decision to dislike someone only to become friends later? What changed?
Good evening, fellow Toastmaster viewers at home. I usually have those snap moments, and I believe it's in the first seconds of just look at the person. But I don't want to be judgmental because I know that the first impression, it's always emotional, and sometimes they try to, they are not the true emotions that the other person is having. So usually what happens, according to some psychologists, is that when you don't like a person in the very first moments that you met them, it is because there is something in that person that reminds you yourself. And it's not in the positive way. So I am aware of that. And I usually ask myself, if I don't find this person that is too likable for me, why does that person has that I can see in myself? And usually have an answer. So for that reason, I don't judge, because when I judge, it is not about the other person, it's about what I'm thinking of myself. That usually the judgment comes from me, it doesn't come from the other person. So for that reason, I start a conversation, I start to having some questions, and then having some thoughts about the other person, but I don't judge other people just in a couple of seconds or after a couple of minutes. I usually get a conclusion after a couple of months or maybe weeks. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen. Art?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right.
Somebody needs to do both grammarian and Albert. Do I have a substitute counter and grammarian?
We can just fix that, Art. Don't use any filler words. So that takes care of that.
Good point, good point.
And we'll note, whoever's, I guess that would be me, I will note any creative usages of language with you when I evaluate you.
Got it. Okay, Aaron, fire.
All right. There's a good one, Art. How do your organizational habits compare to your wife's? And how do you guys settle any disagreements of opinion on these matters?
Thank you, Aaron, for that hot question. I am going to take the Fifth Amendment. It's too dangerous a subject to talk about openly. I will discuss that question with relative to my first wife, who has passed away and can no longer interfere. My organizational skills were superior to hers in a couple of respects. inferior in others. With respect to food shopping, feeding children, studying sculpture and painting, she was far more organized than me. With respect to managing finances, she was vastly inferior. And she had, in addition, no interest in the subject, except she was always ready to talk about more. On the whole, I would say we managed to avoid serious battle over organization matters because I worked outside of the house and could manage my work affairs away from the house. When we tried to collaborate on simple organizational matters like where did a piece of furniture belong, we always ended up in arguments about how to move the piece of furniture into that position we had chosen. We couldn't move a chair without getting into an argument. It was as if an evil genie had control over our conversations when they were on such topics. Thank you for the question and allowing me to avoid it.
Good job, Art. So, Dan, would you like to go next? Or since Art for the last one? Are you ready, Dan?
Okay.
All right. If you were to give a commencement speech to a graduating high school students on organization of their affairs before college, what would it be?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. As unlikely as it may seem, if I were asked to give a commencement speech to high schoolers getting ready to go to college, I think the main thing I would try to impress upon them was that they had to be self-regulating. In high school, you can kind of coast, but there are a lot of people looking over your shoulder, encouraging you to do what you ought to do in terms of your schoolwork and so on. In college, there's nobody. There's a bunch of friends down the hall that say, okay, the party's this way, buddy. And if you say, no, I can't go, then there's a bunch of friends down the other end of the hall that are getting into something else. A lot of kids really get into trouble in their freshman year of college. It just all collapses on them because it has to dawn on them at some point that nobody is going to make you do it but you. And if you can't come up with the motivation, pretty tough situation. On the other hand, college is probably the last time in your life that you can be just truly irresponsible for stretches at a time. And it's a very wonderful, free feeling. I remember even thinking when I was in college, this is the last time I get to just totally loaf. But occasionally you have to toe the line, go to the classes, take the exams, make the grades, or it's all going to end quicker than you thought. So that would be the summary of my imparted wisdom. If I could get these high schoolers to actually listen to me, which is somewhat doubtful, but it is, you gotta be responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Who would like to go next? Bob, I don't think you've gone yet, have you?
I am not. Just remember, Aaron, I'm going to ask you the next question.
I know. I figured that was going to happen.
Be careful.
All right, Bob. Have you ever been so focused on just getting a project done or a task that you made a vital mistake that actually caused you to have to redo that project or spend more time trying to make it right? What happened in that situation?
Thank you, fellow topics master. There's one incident recently happened to me in which an employee and I parted ways. As we were grading a yard against a foundation, there had been a tree that was underneath the dirt before we came there and didn't know that it was there. So when they cut the tree down, well, obviously there's roots underneath there. When I started the project, I sent my foreman to go grade the yard so the water would shed away from the foundation. Well, in the meantime, we found out the roots were there. So he could only go bring it down so much. Well, I spoke to the homeowner when he wasn't there, and the homeowner expressed to me, of course, homeowner always gets his way, he's always right, that he wanted to take that down another 4 inches deeper. So when I got my excavator over there to proceed, after him and a couple of guys that all had it all done, I came in there and I ripped it all apart, all the work that they had done. Well, he didn't talk with me. He kind of flipped out thinking, well, what did you do? Why did you plan ahead? Why did you, when he just got all lit? Because I didn't plan ahead and I had to do it over twice and it made no sense to him. But he didn't know the other problem was that I talked to the homeowner and the homeowner and I discussed this prior to. So he jumped on and we got into it and a few words were flying out of his mouth and I came flying with the excavator out of my mouth. And before you know, you get two bulls butting heads and one thing came to another. We backed up, and when we backed up, we parted ways because that's just the way it is. I couldn't have anybody disrespect me or talk to me that way on my job because then I get mutiny from the rest of the men. So whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I'm always right in that situation. Did I suffer? Yeah, I suffered. I lost my foreman. And by the way, if anybody needs a job, okay, I'm looking for a new foreman. So thank you for your answer or your question, Aaron.
What's your business, Bob?
Vogel Basement Repair.
In case anybody out there is listening.
That's right. And I promise I won't come yelling out the machine like before, okay? I'll stay inside. Hey.
This was the classified section of the Toastmasters meeting.
Yeah.
All right, Bob.
Thanks, Aaron. Aaron, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If indecision and lack of organization are bedfellows, in what area do you need advice to move forward, to overcome indecision And what will motivate you to follow through?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I can. If indecision and lack of organizations are bedfellows, in other words, they're together, obviously, in what area do you need advice to move forward to overcome that indecision? And what will motivate you to follow through?
Thank you. Hello, Toastmasters, Mr. Topics Master, viewers at home. Overall, I do have to say I do pride myself on my organizational skills, but in terms of decision making is can definitely sometimes be a bit of an area that I need to improve on, and especially at work. There's always so many variables to consider, and especially when you work for a large company, there's so many very strong opinionated people who want things done a certain way, and they may not necessarily mesh well with other decisions that other important stakeholders have. And that can often lead to information overload to the point that you feel like you almost have too much information that you can't even make a decision. And I would say that in my situation, the number one thing that I need to work on is confidence, being able to say with definitiveness that based on my knowledge and experience, this is the decision that we need to make, and I'm open to feedback on it, but this is the path that I would like to go moving forward. And I think that is one of my biggest holdbacks when it comes to getting stuff done, is being pulled multiple different directions and sort of at this stalemate where you're not getting anywhere, where we have projects that are on the back burner that we're needing capital investment on, or monies or other more manpower behind, that you're always trying to convince people to give to you, but everyone has their own opinion, and it can be very difficult to be able to say definitively, this is the path we need moving forward. And I would like to work on the confidence to be able to make these decisions. All right.
All right. So,
I think
how are we on time?
Are we going to do a second round now?
yeah.
have time for one
Let's
more,
see.
I
Oh
think.
yeah, I guess we're closer to time than I thought. Yeah, we're 8:26 is when we're done. Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay.
Who would like to go?
Oh,
Okay. Well, I think it's my turn to ask a question, right?
okay.
Right.
Hey, you made a decision. Good job there.
You're not so bad after all.
Little steps, little steps.
Yeah.
Who'd like to go?
I could go.
Wait, here's the thing. So I'm going to evaluate. So I would say not Rick, Dan, Art, or Bob. And why? Because I've already evaluated them on one.
Oh, so not.
That means it's a minor thing.
Or we're going to switch people we evaluate now? So we don't evaluate same person twice?
Well, it's not really, but I mean, if we're doing alternating, Rick, it would be my turn. And if I think I heard you just volunteer.
Take time.
Yeah, it's your turn to evaluate, but I could speak and you evaluate, couldn't I?
Again? Because
Unless
I
we,
evaluated you the first.
oh, okay, so I shouldn't.
You really want to put yourself through two separate.
At this rate, we may not even have time for another person to speak.
You know, if Rick
This,
wants
no,
to go,
this is a stalling technique, as
no,
our
if
point.
Rick
Okay.
wants to go and get another
Well,
evaluation from me, that's, you know, hats off to him.
I don't
Unfortunately,
want to go now. Thank you.
unfortunately, I think we've used up our time for this. Yay, it worked.
Oh, come on. Oh,
I don't think Jean has spoken tonight.
I did.
Yes, you did.
She did speak.
I did. I just gave Rick a plethora of information and it caused him to back out. I'm so sorry, Rick.
I'll never forgive you, Jean.
I'm so sorry. That was bad. Okay.
Carmen, would you like to give us the report on who qualified?
Everybody qualified except Bob.
Except Bob. Oh, okay.
Too much.
Right. Whoops. Please request.
Bob had a plethora of material. Couldn't get it all in the time frame.
Man, Jean's slaying it tonight.
I am.
So we send our
Well,
votes to Rick.
Yeah.
Rick?
Let's vote for best table topics. Yeah, send votes to Rick.
Best table tacos. Okay.
Mhm. Art, did you just get that bug?
That's something I have to do to get my hands to work.
Oh, okay. It looked like you were getting a.
I thought he was dancing to the YMCA or something.
Art does it. Art does that song. I've seen him.
I used to.
YMCA song.
Has everyone voted?
Yeah.
Okay, all votes are in.
Excellent. With that, I'd like to pass it off to our table topics evaluators for this evening. According to the schedule, Rick is our first table topics evaluator. Are you ready, Rick?
Hey, Rick?
I'm ready.
Okay. Rick, you know, we could also go back and forth since we don't have to go to the front of the room and do them in the order that they were.
How would that work from a timing standpoint?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, let's, you can
You're
go
right.
first or I'll go first, but let's just do all our evaluations.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. Okay.
So this is 3 to 4 minutes. That should be enough time.
3 to 4?
Okay.
That's what it says on the schedule. I think it'll be.
Okay.
Okay, 3 to 4.
Fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. The first table topics I'm going to evaluate is Jean Symington Craig. Jean was given a question. Einstein's desk was so disorderly, how could his thoughts be organized? Jean started off by saying, I don't know how his thoughts could be organized. And she gave several good examples from her own experience, how if things are more orderly, she can think more clearly and it really affects her behavior. And she gave a personal example of recently they had their house cleaned, excuse me. Sorry. They had their house cleaned, and Jean was a changed woman, and Dan was amazed how efficient she was and how organized. And at the end, Jean gave kind of a warning to Einstein. If he expected to work with her, he better clean up his desk. I thought that was a nice use of humor. One suggestion I would have, as Jean was giving Einstein that warning, perhaps she could have used some hand gestures, wagging her finger at him to emphasize that. Carmen answered the question on, do you make snap decisions whether you like someone? And Carmen said, yes, she does make snap decisions, but she doesn't rely on them. And she pointed out that her snap decisions are often wrong because they're based on emotion. And it's a good thing that she realizes that, she explained, because it's just the emotional nature of hard decisions. So Carmen mentioned that she would like to take a little while to really make a judgment on people. And she also mentioned she doesn't like to be very judgmental about people. I thought her speech was well organized, had a good structure. I'd like to make one suggestion. I don't know if this is right considering the software we're using, but Carmen, it looked like your eyes were kind of downcast. So maybe you could make more of an effort to look into the camera, and that way it looks like you're looking at your audience. Again, I don't know if this is a valid comment or not, simply because of the software we're using. Dan was asked if he could give commencement to high school students how to be organized in college. And Dan, I thought this was an excellent speech, as Dan's always are. He pointed out that in high school, you have someone looking over your shoulder, and in college, you don't. And you really have to be very self-sufficient and self-motivating in organizing your time. And then Dan gave the counter argument to that. You should be self-organizing, but college is so much fun. This is the last time you'll have to be irresponsible. And that was just a side note to the main point of his speech. Dan then circled back to kind of grudgingly stating again, okay, you do have to watch yourself, and you do have to be self-organized if you want to get anything done. And I like Dan's point. He wrapped it up with, this is my advice to high schoolers, if they would listen, which they probably wouldn't. And I don't have any suggestions for Dan. And the last speech I have, Aaron, he was asked, does he need or would he look for any advice on either being indecisive or any lack of organization? Aaron mentioned that he's very organized and he doesn't feel he needs any advice here, but he does need help making decisions. And it sounds like it was just the nature of projects that caused him to say this. It sounds like Aaron can make decisions, but just as projects go along, there are so many variables that come up that it's an ever-changing landscape. And this is one of the challenges of having to make decisions, is that you don't have all the information at once, or the information is constantly changing. And I think that's the decision, that's the point that Aaron was trying to make. I have two suggestions for Aaron, one of which is he used hand gestures, but they were kind of random. And I would suggest your hand gestures be more decisive and use them to make the points in your speech. And the second one is Aaron tended to look away from the camera and kind of shift his head a little bit. And again, I would suggest a little more steadfast vision towards the camera. And that's my evaluation. Take it away, Jean.
thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers at home. I'll start right out with Rick. Rick had the question about does he procrastinate, and why does he procrastinate? Why does he think that's the case? His opening was fantastic, I thought. He went right into humor. He's either the worst procrastinator or the best procrastinator. He talks about getting awards for procrastination. He really just took it out to the absurd. So it was a great opening, really catching. And then he gave us a good example. Right there, right handy, it looked very spontaneous about his office. And so we're all looking at his bookshelves now. So it's almost like he had a visual aid there that he could call on. And I definitely want him to show us the lower shelves just so we can feel like we're, we see Rick as being human. And he gave a conclusion. So he just said, he wrapped up, said, so this is a graphic example of procrastination. My suggestion to Rick would be, the second half of the question had to do with why do you have this procrastination? I didn't feel that he addressed that. He could have just been saying it's in my DNA. So that's the explanation. But I think if he could have just wrapped that in a little bit with why he's a procrastinator, that would have fully addressed the question. Dan had the question. Dan got up twice, I realize now. Had the about, is it more stressful for him to have rigid schedule or no plan at all? And I'm thinking about him retiring somewhere in the next year or so, and I'm hoping he remembers this conversation. He said that the rigid schedule is lesser of two evils. And he gave a good compare and contrast of schedules versus not having any kind of boundaries for himself. And he did have a conclusion that he was, all in all, happier with the rigid schedule. So he had a good opening, lesser of two evils. He wrapped it up. That's all very good structure. My one suggestion to Dan was a little bit of redundancy when he said he was full of a plethora of options. It's either you have a plethora of options, which already has fullness contained in it, or you're full of options, but you're not full of a plethora of options. Art had the question about organizational skills relative to wife. Well, he started out in a very cowardly direction, I thought, avoiding any kind of reference to Sue. And Sue is a highly organized person in my experience. So maybe that was a wise dodge. But then, just to add humor to it, he moved over to comparing it with a dead person who couldn't refute anything that he said. So that was a very interesting opening to the question. And I thought it was actually humorous. He did weigh out that they each, Art and his former wife, did have strengths, but just could not seem to ever meet in the middle, and that distance was the only option. Him out of the house, she's in her area, and he gave an example of the chair, trying to figure, I mean, which you'd think that would be something that you could, two adults could come together on. So it really emphasized what a problem there was. I would say for Art, my suggestion would be, I think you should try to work in the YMCA song into your talk next time. So I had trouble there. Bob, finally, Bob got the question about making a mistake because he's so focused. He gave us a detailed description of this incident that happened. He had good vocal tone and pace. Generally love listening to Bob's stories. He does have, I've mentioned this one time before, the confusing pronouns. So he had an owner, he had an employee, but all of a sudden it was he was mad, he was this, and I couldn't tell, was the homeowner mad because, you know, the yard is botched up, or the employee's mad because Bob came in and overstepped him. And so sometimes you have to go back in and say the owner or the employee, just to make sure your audience knows who the pronouns are referring to. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my employee.
Okay,
I set that straight for you, Jean. You know?
I was really into the action of it all. And then all of a sudden they went, well, what's the picture here? Is it the homeowner? Is it the employee? What?
Yeah, you really enjoyed it when you saw me flying off the loader.
Yeah.
I'm going to step in as general evaluator and ask our timer, Carmen, which of the evaluators qualified?
None.
Oh.
All right.
Yes.
Which evaluator was closest to qualifying?
That is an illegal
No,
question.
no.
Yeah, both of them are out.
The least disqualified.
Yeah, the
least
lesser
is
of
Jean.
disqualified.
The least is Jean.
The least
But,
Jean. Yeah. I tried. I had a plethora of comments. I just couldn't get it in.
Man.
So are we not doing
Let's give a round of applause to our long-winded evaluators.
Hey.
Good job. I think at this point, it would be time then for our reports. So let's hear the full timers report from Carmen.
For table topics, Aaron, 2 minutes 14. Rick, 1 minute 50. Jean, 2 minutes 24. Then the first one, 2 minutes 04, and the second one, 2 minutes 25. Bob, 2 minutes 35. Art, 2 minutes 28. And me, 2 minutes 21. For the evaluations, Rick, 5 minutes with 41, and Jean, 4 minutes 44. That's my report.
Up next is Art, who is our ah counter and our plethora counter, and our grammarian in general.
Carmen, 2 so's, 1 and. Bob, an and used to string together 2 sentences. A well and an Aaron Russell, several, at least 3 false starts. 3 times using and to string sentences together. Rick, 3 ums, an 3 ands. Jean, 3 uhs, 2 so's, and 1 and. That's the ah counting. As grammarian, Rick used the phrasing graphic example of procrastination. I thought that was pretty colorful. Jean spoke about this burst of productivity following the visit of the house cleaner. She used the word plethora at least twice. Dan used plethora once, and he had a colorful phrase, the last time to be truly irresponsible. Bob talked about dropping a mouse, and he had a phrase, indecision and lack of organization are bedfellows. Very colorful. That's my report.
Up next is our joke from Carmen.
All right.
Yay.
What kind of tea is hard to swallow? Reality.
I was going to say iced tea.
You were pretty close. Why do aliens never visit Earth? Because it has one star.
It has one star.
OnStar. One star? OnStar?
Like
One
like
star,
one
like
s-
when
like
you
one
rate, you put
celebrity?
1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, right? So it's
Oh,
because it's only one, so it's not good.
Oh, I get it.
It's bad.
Oh, oh,
trying to think.
wow. That's deep.
No, that's millennial.
Yeah, it's
All
good.
right. Why don't sharks attack lawyers?
Professional courtesy.
Oh, there you go. What do you call someone with no body and no nose? Nobody knows. That's it for today.
Okay, thanks for that inspiration, Carmen. At this point, it's time for me as general evaluator to evaluate the evaluators. This is a tough job tonight in terms of doing anything other than saying, wow, they were good, because wow, they were good. Rick and Jean both work somewhat from the same playbook. They begin by giving an outline of what the question was that was asked, a brief synopsis of what the person answered. They slip in a little praise. They finish up with some suggestions. It's very effective evaluation of table topics. Rick started by evaluating Jean. He praised her good examples of how cleaning changed her outlook. Gave her suggestion to use hand gestures. Let's see, I can't quite read what he said about Carmen. So I'll have to pass on that one, I guess. I think eye contact was the suggestion. Zoom is actually odd because for the best eye contact, you have to look at your webcam, which is counterintuitive. He didn't have any suggestions for me. That was the only fault that I would find with Rick, I think. He had a couple of good suggestions for Aaron, asking him about being indecisive. He suggested hand gestures and always looking toward the screen. I think the only thing I could come up with for you, Rick, is just to always try to suggest something, or even if it's just something to do different. For example, Jean, in evaluating art, suggested he sing the YMCA song. That was reaching pretty far, but she checked that box. Jean evaluated Rick, suggested the answer to the why part of the question. Very insightful thing to talk about. Jean criticized my use of the word plethora, but I think she just wanted to make sure she was the only plethora hero tonight. I really enjoyed her evaluation of art. She started out by saying, yeah, it was really good, but of course it was kind of cowardly. And then finished up with the YMCA part. And then I thought in evaluating Bob's table topics, Jean was very solid in saying at some point you have to refer more specifically than just he, because you lose track of the characters in the story. Again, it's pretty hard for me to come up with a suggestion for Jean. As I say, I believe both Jean and Rick did an exemplary job of evaluating table topics as they should be. So I guess I would I would ask you to do something other than criticize my grammar. I mean, really.
Well,
But that's just a professional comment. You know, no one is.
About plethora. The dictionary says that really it refers to excess, but common usage has it meaning abundance without the excess. So the dictionary is saying that the meaning of the word is starting legitimately to change and mean either abundance or abundance to excess, where it used to mean only the latter.
Uh-huh. It is interesting how if we use a word slightly wrong long enough, that actually becomes the new meaning.
Awesome.
Awesome, yes.
I will discuss this, of course, with Dan later when we're brushing teeth.
No,
But-
now.
But plethora happens to be one of my favorite words. I mean, if you just even say it, it just kind of makes your tongue feel good, like plethora. It's like you want to just plethora. So it's a word I have followed and like, but redundancy is something to watch, because if you don't call it when you see it, then that's the next thing that creeps into the language. And
Okay, we'll refer that to the Department of Redundancy.
like irregardless, is now being accepted instead of saying regardless. All right, so yes,
It's
that's my
shocking.
case.
It's truly shocking.
Yeah.
I'm going to bow out and send the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Rick, who's going to give us the good news regarding meeting awards.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. There's no award for Evaluator, as we didn't know when to stop, either of us. But there is an award for table topics. So drum roll, please. The best table topics tonight is Rick Starr.
Whoa.
Yay.
Whoa.
And I've already deleted the ballot, so you can't verify this one way or the other.
The audit is not possible.
Audit is not possible.
There's your award.
Thank you.
Job, Rick.
Okay.
And now I'd like to turn it over to our president, Aaron Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank all of you Toastmasters for another wonderful meeting tonight. I mentioned it many times and I will continue to mention it. The International Convention is August 29th. I believe this week they announced at least some of the presentations that will take place at this year's convention. Looks to be a pretty good lineup. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then I don't remember if I mentioned last time, but the district is planning to do a watch party for the international contest. So I'm sure that there'll be more details about that in the coming weeks. Dan.
Is the 29th the last day? Aren't there several events during that week?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the 29th is actually the last day?
I think that's the championship.
Oh, okay.
That's a Saturday. That is a Saturday, but I think we've got dates ahead of time if people want to do it. And
Yeah, well, let's see here.
Aaron, you registered, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, August 24th through 29th is the whole thing.
That's
Okay.
Let me update my notes here.
So
I
even
registered also.
if the district, and Art's raising his hand, even if the district is having a watch party, is it your understanding that we still need to register as individuals?
That's a good, I mean, if they broadcast it through Zoom, I suppose that they would just show someone's screen and then you could just watch it through that. But does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I would think that you would sign into a Zoom meeting like this, and then someone would present their desktop where they have the contest going on.
Have you confirmed that they're having a watch party? Because I heard that there was talk about it, but is it definite?
Oh, I talked to, well, what's our district director's name?
Betty Long?
I talked to Betty, and she did tell me that we were having one.
Okay.
She says, we are, Chris Sheehan is working on it. More information will be available in the near future, so be watching for it. So she seems to think that it's on, and Chris Sheehan is the one that's coordinating it.
Is it possible, Aaron, to just send her, send somebody an email just to clarify
Yeah.
with that? Do you
I'll just
want us?
reply. I can reply to her and I'll copy Chris.
Yeah. Should we go ahead and register anyway? Is that what they want us to do, even if it's possible to watch it without registering? I don't know, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
And where do we register?
I got an email with a link to register.
Okay,
Yeah,
everyone got that, so go back and look for it.
I sent it out. Yeah. Has anybody not registered yet?
I haven't.
I haven't, but I plan on it.
I will.
Does everyone, for those that haven't registered, do you guys have the information you need to register?
I do.
Forward it again, just one more time.
Dan, you were registering, weren't you? And then you had to go take care of something?
I finished it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Dan knows where it is, so we know where it is then.
In my opinion, there's really no reason not to register because it's free. I mean, you don't lose anything except for your time, I guess. And it only takes a minute.
Yeah, and the watch party won't be the whole time.
No,
So you may have some
Just the kind.
downtime and you just want to go check it out. And if you're registered, you can do that. So that would be a really strong reason.
Mhm.
Toastmasters International sent me an email yesterday at 7:35 in the evening. The subject says inspiring speaker lineup. Register now.
Oh,
That's what I got too.
I don't know if I got that. Okay.
I can forward it.
So let's just all, register, and it's not like you're committing that you're going to be, glued to the TV or glued, the whole time, but at least you have the option if you're registered. It seems to me. Okay.
And then I've come up with some interview questions for that First Fridays event that we've talked about. I'll send those out to people to get feedback on, and
Okay.
I'll be reaching out to people to see who would like to be a part of that.
And maybe they could indicate if there was a question that they liked, a couple of questions that way you could get a little bit ahead of it,
Yeah.
Folks, I need to depart the meeting. Urgent.
Okay.
Okay, Art, take care.
You.
Hi, Art.
All right.
That's the notes that I have. Does anyone have any other?
Yeah, I do, Aaron.
Okay.
When Carmen was timing, I don't see any yellow or green or red flash on my screen. Is there something I need to do to change, or did she?
Are you looking at gallery view?
I'm in, when you talk, Dan, you're full screen, everybody else is.
That's what you have to do. You have to have, up in the right-hand corner, you can choose either speaker view or gallery view. So click on that now and you'll see everybody at once.
Okay, okay.
And then that way you'd see whoever the timer is.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because I haven't been able to see Carmen the whole time.
Right.
I was hiding.
Oh. Can you push your
Hiding
button, the color code?
Hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, I will.
So I can see it? Green. See, I didn't see that earlier. Yellow, yep. Okay.
You
There.
won't see it if you're in speaker view. You won't
Yeah,
see it.
I did not know
You'll
that.
just see yourself.
Well, I just see who's ever speaking comes up.
Yeah. And if you're the one doing the table topic, you just see yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Which you already know what you look like, so that's kind of a waste.
Yeah. Well, I keep a mirror right in front of me just in case I forget.
You never know when
Leave
there's
face
gonna
up
be
there.
something on your face or something. I would like to mention quickly, Carmen and Aaron, it looked like, you know, that whole thing about assigning your proxy for the international, and it looks like I sent you something. It looked like that it should be okay, Carmen. You don't have to register also. And then I also saw assign your proxy, but I also saw, anyway, I want you guys to look at that email to, you know, to dig
One
into
from
it.
Teresa Michelson. Is that what you're
I don't even remember who it was from.
About-
No, I sent you an email that had frequently asked questions, and
Yeah, I think Teresa had sent us that initially.
but the other thing too is that my understanding is that the district is going to get a list of people who have not assigned their proxies. So Aaron, if you assigned both of them to yourself, my understanding from the email that I sent, you just have to go back and look because I can't quite remember if it was in response to something or just, you know, straight brand new from me, but it was that you would be, Carmen then as a result did not have to go assign her proxy. That doesn't make sense to me because maybe
Did I take
Carmen,
both? I took both the votes, or?
you did
Yeah,
something.
there are 2 votes, and then I don't have any option to choose a proxy. So, and then you are Aaron, you already have the votes. So even though I'm gonna assign you as a proxy, so you are already there. So there is nothing for me to do.
Did you put in, anyway, so there's that. You guys just, but my understanding is the district is going to be told, has a report to see who has not yet assigned. So if Carmen doesn't do anything and she is supposed to, my understanding would be that Carmen would they would contact Carmen. But it kind of doesn't make sense to me because if Aaron just assigned 2 of them to himself, well, what if Carmen didn't want to give hers to Aaron? You know, really?
Yeah, no, and then
Doesn't make
well,
sense.
even though if they contact me, I'm just gonna give it to Aaron. So it's
Yeah, but
up
there's,
to him.
We'll figure it out.
but see, if they contact you, it means you have to do something to assign it to Aaron. And so they'll tell you. So I think from what I saw, it looked like however it happened, you guys are maybe okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think so.
And the second thing, Aaron, I sent out that email to you that had the meeting with Teresa about, or Betty Long about propositions and stuff like that. Did you see that?
Yeah, I thought that was from Teresa.
Maybe it was from, yeah, oh yeah, it was an invitation because are you going to attend that meeting?
Yes, on Sunday, I will attend.
Okay, good. Okay, maybe we should finish the meeting and then we can finish up some details. I have something else for you, Aaron.
Okay.
All right.
All right, yeah, so let's end the meeting here. Thank you very much for attending. Huh?
But everybody stay on just as soon as he's done.
Okay.
Can I go now?
Yeah, you can go now, sorry.
Thank you very much for attending this week's meeting. We'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your weeks and take care.
Thank you. Thank you.